Would you rather in an NBA slam dunk contest where it's a bunch of guys like Mac McClung who are not stars in the NBA, but they can dunk really well, and the
Right.
product's going to be pretty good? Or would you rather see superstars contending and maybe the dunks aren't as good, but the name recognition's there?
I kind of want to see the superstars go at it. Because here's the
Same.
thing. Because you can have a dunk contest. It could be and one. It could be a G League competition, or you can just get guys in the street and they can probably throw it down like nobody's business. And that's awesome. But part of the thrill for me is not only are these guys dunking, they're the best players in the game, and they're going, and there's a competition there that I don't think necessarily exists. Like, is there really, like, man, when Mac McClung goes after Jaylen Brown, bro, they don't like each other. I mean, they've been fighting for NBA titles. No, Mac McClung's in the G League, so he'll perform well. It'll be awesome. It'll be fun to watch. But there is sort of that. God, I hate going back and being such a stereotype, but when Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordan were going at it in the 80s, not only were they just jumping out of the gym, but these were two of the best players in the NBA, and they just kept going back and forth against each other. And it added an element that you don't normally get in today's dunk contest, which is these are two superstars, and they want to beat the hell out of each other no matter what they do. It doesn't matter if it's a skills competition, three-point competition, dunk competition. They want to win, and there's kind of an edge to that we don't get now.
Right. It's the same reason why tickets to an NBA game are probably more expensive than tickets to the Harlem Globetrotters. Because, the Globetrotters obviously do cooler tricks, but you want to see the big names, and you want to see the guys that sell the ticket. So I think I'd rather see mediocre dunks from big names than these guys who aren't even playing in the NBA. Because also, I think this is bad for the NBA. Don't you want to make a name for players, who are actually in the NBA? Because this has been a great platform for some of the guys who are not necessarily superstars. Remember that dunk contest between Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine? Before that, I didn't really know that much about Aaron Gordon. He was playing for the Magic. And same goes for Zach LaVine. He wasn't a brand name before then. So this is a great platform for those type of guys. And instead we're giving it to Mac McClung. So Mac, I love you, but I think I'd rather see guys who are actually playing in the NBA.
I'm the same way. There's just a different buzz. And I think that Harlem Globetrotters reference is the perfect way to put it. Because if you're just talking about incredible skills, look, they put on a great show. It's fun to family. It's fun for kids. They can do things you never see in the NBA or rarely see. So that's great. But there is something intangible about star power. Do you know what I mean? When I don't care if LeBron can't dunk as well as Mac McClung, but if LeBron is on the court, I want to see LeBron dunk the basketball. It's just, it's a different vibe. It feels different. And there's something about feeling the power of someone's prowess because of how good they are at the game.
So PJ, I want to go back to this unranked teams at home squaring off with ranked opponents. Is this a trend that you blindly bet? Because at this point, I'm starting to feel like it is.
Yeah, I think especially middle of the week, Chelsa, those spots, those Big 12 spots like we got yesterday where those teams are playing Saturday, Monday games and it's a short turnaround and they're at home and it's a team like Texas Tech. And that's just a great win for their tournament resume. We're obviously here in the middle of February and conference play is towards the second half of the season. And these teams really need those wins. Those are the spots that I would look for. I think these Saturday games, it's a little bit trickier, when these teams have more time to rest and it's the weekend and, they get to sleep in a little bit on Friday and these kind of things. But if you keep seeing those Big 12 games like last night where it's a quick turnaround Saturday to Monday, those home unranked teams are favored. I think those are great spots. If you get that in a Tuesday ACC game or SEC game or wherever it may be. So to answer your question, I certainly do think it's a trend. More often than not, I am always on the unranked team at home just because, you guys know how it is, how public bettors are for the most part. They see a ranked team getting points, and especially a game last night like Kansas, and they're like, oh, absolutely, I'll take Kansas in a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those Big 12 Monday night, if you get games like that, ACC Monday night, same kind of thing, I would say for sure. But in general, absolutely. The trend has been very profitable over the last couple of years.
How would it have affected the Niners' performance? I mean, truly, because even if you don't know the rules, right, you still need to get on the field and execute. You're still trying to score a touchdown. Kyle Shanahan is still calling your plays. So you can get a quick explainer on the sidelines, and I'm with you. The Niners needed to know these rules. That's part of preparation. But ultimately, it's not like these rules meant they forgot how to play the game. It's like, all right, I'm not really sure how overtime works. What I do know is we got to execute here. We got to drive down the field, and we got to get points. So even if they weren't completely aware of how the overtime rules work, you still have to execute. So for me, I go back and say, look, if you want to focus on this, we're so intent on laying the blame at someone's feet. And you see this all the time. Like, who can we blame for this loss? Who can we blame for the Niners losing in overtime? You know what it was? It was definitely not deferring on the coin toss. I don't know. Maybe it was Christian McCaffrey fumbling in the first quarter when the Niners were driving down the field. Maybe it was that special teams gaffe that gave the Chiefs a touchdown because they were deep in Niners territory. Like, there's so many things that go into a football game, and all Kyle Shanahan did was go with what. Now, to his credit, they examined the analytics before the game. Maybe the players weren't aware, but Kyle Shanahan examined the analytics before the game and said, if we win the coin toss, we are taking the football. This is part of our strategy. So Kyle Shanahan did what he wanted to do. The players needed to go out and execute. They didn't. They got beat by Patrick Mahomes. I think that's what I keep coming back to. You can say, what about this? What about that? You just got beat by Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
That's the bottom line for me. Did any of this stop Patrick Mahomes? No, it doesn't matter if Patrick Mahomes was going first, second, or third. Patrick Mahomes is inevitable, and I feel like that game-winning drive still would have been there. But there are plenty of decisions that coaches have to make throughout the game, and they're not always going to hit at 100% rate. Like, what if the final play call, the corn dog play, or whatever they called it for the Kansas City Chiefs, what if that hadn't come through? Would people be questioning the play call from Andy Reid? Maybe. So it's very easy to have hindsight and say, well, this was the wrong call just because it didn't work out. Like, nobody knows this concept better than bettors. Isn't it terrible when people say, well, you should have been on this? Well, I didn't know this before the game. I didn't know it was not going to work out. So it's very easy for people in the offseason to play Monday morning quarterback.